Hello, this is TechMan88, and I'd like to go over the changes for 1.14 that you need to do to my wither skeleton farm. This was my most popular video, so I thought I should just show the 1.14 upgrades. And later in the video, I'll also show an idea to use wolves to kill them, because if you didn't know, you can use wolves again to kill the wither skeletons, and they will drop the wither skeleton skulls. But it only seems to work in the same dimension that the player is in. So this farm, it mostly works. You only have to do a couple small changes. So one, you can see down here that they aren't successfully getting pushed into the portal. And the reason for that is they changed something to do with the piston and entity stuff. So like a piston, like it used to be if you fired this piston and this piston at the same time, it would push it into the portal, but that's no longer the case. So all you have to do is to fix that is change these to 3 ticks from 2 ticks. Just so that the pistons fire one after the other. And now if I place a wither skeleton down there, it'll get through successfully. They're getting killed by the... yeah, so that worked. So the next problem is something they introduced. They made the iron golems have a longer attack range, so they can actually kill the wither skeletons before they can get into the portal. It doesn't always happen, but that'll decrease your rates enough that you should probably fix it. So the way that I fix this is just by rearranging this area a little bit. So I put rails there, then just took out that ice, and then put trapdoors here. And that seems to work. So the purpose of the rails right here is to just get the iron golems, get these wither skeletons to walk directly in rather than walk over sideways like this. And I guess it's not perfect, but like if I put it like this, I guess it still works. But I wanted to decrease the chance of getting hit as much as possible. So I guess if you don't want to use rails down there, you can also just simply put these up on top, because that will cause the wither skeleton to prefer going a different way in, but still allow them to spawn below here. So I can put a guy there, and I'm not sure what he's going to do actually. Yeah, it's not that good. That's why I had the rail there. So one other change is a bit harder to notice, is that these guys will try and pathfind and try and jump over this thing. So they'll jump up and down, and when they do that, if they did it inside here with the wither skeleton, or sorry, with the iron golem in the area, and actually I can just demonstrate real quick right here. So I'll just put the same sort of arrangement here, and hopefully it'll try and go the right way. So yeah, he'll try and pathfind, and then he'll start trying to shoot at the iron golem. So the way I fix that, let me go back to this demo thing over here. I just fixed that by putting these slabs right here. And now when I spawn a new one and he tries to pathfind, he's not going to try and jump there. He'll just stop. Work with me, skeleton. Yeah, so he's not jumping anymore. And that just that prevents your iron golem from dying eventually. So you can see this is actually a different world. This includes all the fixes I did, including putting all these on top. So that's what it looks like from above with all the fixes. Alright, so this is a version that works totally in the nether. It doesn't use the portals at all, which is pretty nice, and it uses the wolves to kill the wither skeleton skulls, or kill the wither skeletons. So that's a feature that they brought back in this version, 1.14. That the wolves can kill it, and they can get the wither skeleton skulls. And this only seems to work if you're in the same dimension as the wither skeletons when they get killed. Like if you send them to the overworld and then kill them, that's not going to work. It would be a lot easier that way, but it doesn't seem to get the drops that you would want out of this. So this uses this trick right here where it pushes down a slime block on the head of a wither skeleton. And that's going to basically bump it down really hard into this slime block, and then it's going to bounce back up. But this block will already be in the hitbox of the wither skeleton, so it won't block the entity from moving up. I'm not sure if this is a new trick. I tested this in 1.13 as well. It works there as well. So it might be a very old technique. So one really nice thing about this technique is that you can raise your AFK spot. So in previous versions, the wither skeletons, they would drop 4 blocks down so that they could get pushed into the portal, which is pretty nice for the simplicity that it gave, but just raising your AFK height just a couple blocks, that's going to eliminate a lot more spawning spaces around here in the nether. And I showed this in a previous video, just how much effect that has, just a couple blocks raised. So that's a nice advantage. And another thing I'm doing here is I've got these pistons on the side, and those are just going to align the wither skeletons so they, like this one right here, it's not quite in the block, so when it gets sent up, it's going to get pushed in, so there's only this one wide thing required to send them all up. And then they come up here, and I use the same trick. This is all about simplicity, and I figured it was a lot simpler just to have an iron golem over here, which will attract the wither skeletons, and then they can fall down, and they go down to ideally 4 hearts, or 4 health, which means that the dogs can kill them in 1 hit. So the idea with the dogs is that if they kill the wither skeleton in 1 hit, then it won't have any time to attack back. So these wither skeletons, they won't attack the dogs just because. They will only attack in response to being hit by the dogs, and the dogs give 4 hit points of damage. So as long as they're 4 or below health, then they'll die on the first hit, and the dogs will never die. And also on the dogs, I put them off to the side because just in case 24 wither skeletons come in here all at once, which might happen, then they would die from entity cramming damage. And yeah, you don't want to have to resummon these wolves. And it's very rare that I have to do that. And I guess on that topic as well, I have a command here just to summon, not that one, this one. So this summons a minecart aligned in a certain spot, so I just copy that, and then I can summon it right here. I didn't quite do that right. But basically, like if you have a glass here and here, then I run that command. It's going to be right inside the glass. And these minecarts are pretty wide, so you don't want them clipping into the glass and getting pushed over. This is much easier. So back there I was using this command block array just to summon some of the wither skeletons, just to test pathfinding and stuff like that. But the way you really test this is you press this button here. It'll put you up into the AFK spot. And basically, because I don't have carpet or a second account or something like that to test this, I just sit up here and then I can look at the spawns. It doesn't tell you a whole lot about what's going on. And I've got another command block here which will just light up all the entities in the world. So like a couple pigmen spawned over there. So I can just basically look at what's happening. And also a button over here to just reset the rate. So I can, in this version, I figured out a way to count the entities but still have them get killed just using tags. So this, like over here, this will show the rate. And the rates, by the way, they are pretty good, considering that this farm has a lot fewer spawning spaces. I had to take a bunch of those out to get the pathfinding working. So once I'm done up here testing the AFK, I see the rate is 32. 32 wither skeletons per minute. So then that button is just going to bring me back down to the bottom. And actually, this is another problem that pigmen, they can spawn on these spaces, so I actually should have had glass right there and glass above this. So this is a work in progress. I think maybe it might be better to have another one of these elevators on the other side and another set of dogs to kill them or something like that, or maybe share the dogs. The problem I had was it gets into a lot of really technical stuff with pathfinding, but like I had to have a ton of blocks out here that they couldn't pathfind through to actually get them to successfully get to the other side. So like maybe if I remove some blocks here, put this guy here, like he might not think that he can get over to the other side. So if you want to look up more information on pathfinding, I would look up the A-star algorithm, which this might use, I'm not sure. So basically, like a skeleton, wither skeleton over here, is going to do like a flood fill around it, and like calculate a weight that corresponds to going that direction. So like if I put slabs up above there, that's going to like negatively impact the weight. So now he's going to go around that. So if I take that out, he should go right through. So like if you see slabs like up here or something, that might just be to like tell them to prefer some direction over another direction. Like if I spawn one in there, he might not actually pathfind properly. He might think he's as close as he can get to the iron golem. And then in this case, like I might be able to take out a couple blocks up here, and then he'll actually think he can get there. So this might be a better arrangement. This takes a whole lot of testing to get proper, but yeah, maybe something like that would work. But when I do that, then something over here might have a problem. Or maybe not. Maybe this one would have a problem. So yeah, there's a lot of work to come into the optimal one, and I'm not going to claim this is even near optimal, but maybe I'll just leave it like that. So the actual rates on this farm, I think, are about 1 wither skeleton skull per minute, which is a lot worse than the farm with the manual killing with the looting 3 sword. But you don't have to do anything, and you should just be able to run this all the time. And there's another thing I didn't cover yet is the experience orbs. So that's why I have a piston here, and that's why this is kind of a funky looking arrangement, like the soul sand here that allows items to fall down and get collected by this hopper. And the experience orbs, like if I'm in spectator mode, they won't get attracted to me. So they would just sit here, and you'd get like 300 EXP orbs here all the time, and those would cause some lag. So I just have them getting pushed over into a cactus down here, and not lava, because lava would be lighting up everything around it, and there would be no way to block the light, as far as I know. So I've got another version here which uses a waterstream in the Overworld to damage the wither skeletons and also get them up to a high portal. So you don't have to do any of the entity damaging down here. So I'll go through one of these portals and I'll show the Overworld side. And you may want to do this version if you've got a single player world where you don't have to worry about other players, because this can be fairly laggy. Like you can see my max MSPT is 5,000, so about 5 seconds, and that's just because it has to send them through the portal, which can be very long in 1.14. So I was hoping that this version would be really simple, and actually the first thing I tried was having the entities just drop down. So they come out of this portal down here, and what I wanted to do is just have them drop down and then have some wolves down here to kill them. But that didn't turn out to work. They just didn't seem to drop the skulls when I did that. So yeah, I just send them up this way, and if you don't know, you have to give them a you have to let them be in the overworld for some amount of time. I think it's about 15 seconds. So that's why they come up here and they go through this water stream, which is really nice. It's a lot simpler than like a trapdoor escalator or whatever you want to call it. Trapdoor people mover. So yeah, they just drop down and get down to like 3 or 4 hit points. Then they go through this portal. And this is linked up to this portal right here. So they get kind of kicked out by this boat here, and then they can get killed by the wolves. So just doing all that stuff in the overworld, like doing the entity damage and everything, that lowers the entity count in the nether, so you can get maybe a little bit more spawns. So on this version I did something a little bit different with the dogs, which you could incorporate in the other version that I showed. Is the problem would be that sometimes pigmen can get through this portal, and then a wither skeleton can drop like a sword or a skull, and then the zombie pigman could put it on. So what I did in this one is I just had a too high gap that so this piston over here can push the pigman through, and he'll of course just die on the cactus. So one thing I did to just try and prevent any item loss is by putting a hopper minecart inside the soul sand. So yeah, you could place that there and then push the soul sand down. So the hope with the hopper minecart is that it can pick up items a lot faster, so you would really not have that much item loss. And then you can also get rid of the pigmen with safety. So this is what the farm looks like from above, where I'm giving the glowing effect to every entity. So like this right here, this is the iron golem. You can see him attacking occasionally. And the wither skeletons, they're going to get pushed up into the portal, which is right here. And then the upper portal where they come out already damaged, that's up here. So a dog here, and then a dog here. It can be a little bit hard to read, but once you look at it enough, you figure it out. Like the wither skeletons, they have the sword coming out. And like you can see them dying when they roll over. And yeah, you can see them getting sent through the portal this way. And of course the iron golem attacking. You don't want that happening. That's going to decrease your rates because that'll give a lot of damage. And they'll die when they take the fall. But maybe that's acceptable. But the main reason you probably wouldn't want to use this farm on a multiplayer server, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't use this at all on a multiplayer server, because if anybody's also in the overworld, they will despawn the entities. That's just a fact of Minecraft. If there's no players in the overworld, they will never despawn. But then there's another reason, which I said before, is that you can get these really big lag spikes when it tries to find the portal in the overworld. Like, no matter all this work I put into aligning the entities down there to go through the portal in the exact same spot, that just doesn't seem to matter. But I guess on average, most of the time it's going to be running at like 10 MSPT. So back to the farm that's completely in the nether. I've just been running a test. This has been going on for about 11 minutes. And I'm just going to go down and check how much stuff I got. So press that. And in here, 12 wither skulls in about 12 minutes. So that's about, one wither skeleton skull per minute. And of course the advantage of this is that you don't have to do anything. I added one more thing to this version, which is just pistons to push the entities over. So it's going to be extended most of the time, but in the instant that it gets pushed up, it's going to be retracted and just pushes them over and doesn't allow them to pathfind back onto the slime blocks, because the slime blocks are slow. They walk very slowly over them, and they don't want to pathfind over them. So this kind of like teleports them almost over there. So in summary, the first version that I released is gonna work just fine. But if you want to use dogs to kill the wither skeletons, I would use this version. I wouldn't use the Overworld stream version. I would just use this, even though it has more complicated redstone and stuff, and all this glazed terracotta, and like all this complex pathfinding stuff. I would still use it. Just because you don't have to deal with any portal lag, that sort of stuff. So anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye.